Are there any other questions? Dan, wait, microphone.
Yeah, speak into the microphone.
What is cause and effect?
What is cause and effect? Good question. Okay? All right, that was easy. More. Stan was telling us, a bunch of us, we were with friends last night watching the broadcast of the play Good Night and Good Luck, and Stan was talking about when he was in 5th grade and he had sister Louisita was her name, and she threatened to kill herself by jumping out the window because the kids were so obstreperous, and they go, jump, 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 so more. But it was, you know, but Stan said growing up Catholic's really hard, but the window was, you know, like our windows, it was this kind of window, so there was no way she could have jumped out. Anyway, yeah, so cause and effect. So karma. That's one meaning of karma, is cause and effect. But there's something very, it's not just, you know, physics, cause and effect. Although that's a good, actually, in some sense, it's a complete description, but people aren't happy with that. So, so cause and effect, everything we do affects everything else. So, you know, there's a kind of Zen saying, cause and effect are clear, and that's both true and not true. So everything we do, it's like, you know, dropping a stone in the water ripples and ripples and ripples and ripples. And even when the human eye can't see the ripples, if you're a tiny creature in the water, you're still going to go up and down. Still going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, you know, a little bit from those ripples. And so cause and effect comes, it really relates very closely to this notion of interpenetration, that everything is very deeply, deeply connected to everything else. Interdependence, I'm forgetting the technical words for it. What?
Interconnectedness.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of the thing about, you know, that each thing gives rise to everything else. I'm forgetting that. Pardon?
Codependent origination.
What?
Codependent origination.
Yeah, codependent origination, thank you. And also, which Thich Nhat Hanh calls interbeing. And the standard image for that in Buddhism is Indra's net. And we think of a net as two-dimensional, but Indra's net is sort of infinite dimensional in time and space. And it, you know, each node of the net has, you know, a being in it. So you're a node of the net, you're a node of the net, and so on. Even inanimate objects, everything is a node in the net. And if one thing moves in the net, the whole net ripples. And also the standard thing is that each, you know, there's this, each net is like, each being is like a jewel. So this jewel, and light comes and it hits, you know, one jewel, and then it reflects onto all the other jewels, which then reflect onto all the other jewels. So this deep sense of interconnection. So cause and effect is not like an individual thing. It's not like I do, you know, we think of karma as you give, you get. You know, what you do comes back to you. So if you do bad things, then bad things will happen to you. Good things will happen to you. That's very individualistic. And in fact, what cause and effect and karma and all those things, everything we do ripples out. So it's not just that what we do affects ourselves, it's what we do affects all beings. Okay? Is that good enough? Long enough? Let's see, that was 4 minutes. Okay. Okay, you're satisfied. Liz, you have a question?
Yes, so past week, I was really busy because of a community event that I was volunteering for. And so I have had a lot of things to do, and time management is not one of my strong suits. So in my head, at certain times, there was just that story spinning, 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 spinning. And and what I recognize is that not all the time, but the way it was spinning during this past week, it was just a coping mechanism to kind of separate me from what was what the things that I needed to do, and that it had a calming effect. And then I thought, well, okay, yeah, I wasn't in reality, but that's okay. It was just my coping mechanism. And then I thought, well, maybe it wasn't okay. Maybe that So, does Zen have coping mechanisms? I mean, I was out of my head. I was not here in this moment, that sort of thing. Yet, yet it was just a strategy to cope with this, not a lot of stress, but just this stressful week of I had a lot to do and and that sort of thing. So,
Don't check.
well,
Is this a good
I
thing?
don't know,
Is this a bad thing? You know, don't worry about it.
but I
There-
wasn't in that moment.
But that was your moment, okay? So if you recognize that there are ways that connect you more to this universe, that don't separate you from this universe, then when you can, do that. But don't beat yourself up about not doing that. It doesn't help, because then that just adds another layer. So first you're being distracted by some stuff going on in your head. You didn't say whether, you used, I think you used the word story, but something's going on in your head and that's distracting you. And then you judge that. That adds another layer of distraction. So then and is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Does Zen have coping mechanisms? Zen does not have coping mechanisms. Zen has techniques. Zen has practice. And you practice, and that can change your life. But coping mechanism means you have a particular thing in mind. You want to be calm. You want to not be unhappy. Coping mechanisms are very pointed. But Zen is very wide. So we have practice, and then your life changes. As you practice, your life will change. It's guaranteed. How long it takes is not guaranteed, and how it changes is not guaranteed. But your life will change. But you don't have a particular idea of where you're going particularly. There's this phrase, nowhere to go. You're already here. These kinds of phrases that people say in Zen, and people go, wah, 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 But it's true. As the saying goes, wherever you are, there you are. That comes out of, I don't know what it's originally is, but some American Theravada teacher popularized that phrase, and then it became a country song. Because it's a great country song, wherever you go, there you are. So thank you for your question, because it points to a process that we all do, and there's no need to do that. Okay? So thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes. Microphone?
What is there to be said about, since we're talking about ethics, the ethics of competition?
Love everyone. Do your best and love everyone. So when people are unethical in any situation, no matter what the situation, they have made people who are not themselves into other, someone who's not as important as they are. So if you're unethical, if you cheat, like at golf, which I hear is fairly easy to cheat at, I don't really know, but if you cheat at golf, if you cheat at baseball, do a funny thing to the ball before you pitch it, that means that you're putting yourself, making yourself more important than other people. That's what that means. That means you don't respect other people. You don't care about other people. You're just looking out for yourself. And anytime you do that, in any form, whether it's cheating, whether in some kind of competition, or business, or whether it's something that's not cheating at all, whether it's being cruel to people, discounting people, not paying attention to their needs. Anytime we say, you're not as important as I am, that's the problem. Okay? And that's not what Buddhism or Zen says, that's just human reality. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows this, but we have this I, my, me that just distracts us all the time. So, thank you for your question. Any other questions?
I'm struggling to phrase this. Does the opposite hold true? So can one undervalue yourself in presence of others as opposed to overvaluing oneself? Like where does self-love and protection come? Because that's something that I struggle with. And I want to know if there is a balance, or is that something you're supposed to be selfless to the extent?
You can't be selfless to the point you can't function. So that's the question. Are you able to function? And there was a terrible example of sort of selflessness gone awry when the death of Gene Hackman, the actor, and he had advanced dementia, and his wife didn't have any help. She decided she would take care of this by herself, and that's this kind of not taking care of herself in the desire to take care of him. It was very important. She was going to take care of him, and no one else was going to do that. That was her job. And then what happened was she got a terrible, is it a virus or a bacteria? Hantavirus, I think, which you get from, mice. They lived in the Southwest, and hantavirus around there where the mice carry hantavirus, and hantavirus brings with it a terrible lung disorder. And she died from that. And he was left alone for about almost a week. By the time the coroners found them, it had been like a month or something that they'd both been dead. So this idea of, I must not accept help, I must not take care of myself, I can't relax, I can't put the thing down for a minute and have some relief, I can't, that mind, that is not a very functional mind. And it can lead to terrible things like that, we think of it as work-life balance or, family life balance or family way, but that's like a dichotomy. It's just balance. And it's recognition of what each person's situation, what each person's karma is. And there's no rule for, what works for one person, isn't appropriate for another. So in your own life, you have to see, and usually it's your ego that makes you do more than you can actually do to function. It's this ego that says, I have to do this, no one else can do this. This I, instead of what's best in this situation. Take the I out of it, then it becomes clearer. Okay? So yeah, and everybody faces this. Everyone's life is like that. And how to just perceive clearly and not try to, okay, this, just perceive what's going on. And then you'll know. So thank you for your question.
Thank you.
And we have run out of time. So thank you, everyone.